The hospital reeked of antiseptic and exhaustion. I sat in the waiting area, scrolling through my phone just to keep from trembling, but nothing could distract me from the picture in my head. Her, motionless under white sheets and harsh lights. My wife, Claire, was in for a simple procedure. Nothing dangerous, the doctor had said, in and out within the hour. Still, the idea of her unconscious, surrounded by strangers, twisted something deep inside me. You don't realize how much someone anchors your world until you see them fragile and still, wires tracing their skin like veins of silver. When they wheeled her out, she looked weightless, floating between sleep and awareness. The nurse gave me a kind smile. She might say some funny things while the anesthesia wears off. Don't read too much into it. I forced a laugh. Got it. But I couldn't have known that what Claire was about to say would unravel everything I believed about us. She muttered something as I helped her into the car, her head rolling to the side. I buckled her in gently, brushed her hair from her face, and kissed her forehead. "You're sweet, Daniel," she whispered, words slurred and delicate. "You've always been so sweet." "Just rest, love," I murmured, starting the engine. The first stretch of road was quiet, only the hum of tires and her slow breathing. Then, near the old gas station, she spoke again, her voice barely above a sigh. "Jason was right," she murmured. My hands froze on the wheel. "What?" She didn't answer, just gave a soft, hazy giggle, one I hadn't heard in months. "He said we'd get caught someday," she said dreamily. "But I told him you'd never suspect a thing." The words slammed into me like a collision. "Claire," I said carefully, my pulse pounding, "who's Jason?" Her eyes fluttered half open, unfocused. "You know him," she mumbled. "From work. Jason from accounting." My stomach turned. Jason from accounting. The name hit like a curse. We'd had drinks with him once. Bland, polite, forgettable. I remembered her laughter that night. Too genuine, too bright. "Claire," I said again, struggling to stay calm. "What did you mean, get caught?" She smiled faintly, almost tenderly. "We didn't plan it," she breathed. "It just happened." The world outside blurred, headlights smeared into streaks, the night folding around me. My grip on the wheel tightened until my fingers ached. I wanted to shake her awake, make her look at me, make her take it back. But she drifted off again, her head against the window, peaceful, like nothing had shattered. I drove in silence. My mind replayed the same 6 words over and over. "You'd never suspect a thing." When we got home, I carried her to bed. She didn't stir. I stood there, watching her chest rise and fall, trying to decide if anesthesia had made her babble nonsense, or if I'd just heard the truth. The nurse's warning echoed in my head, "Don't take anything too seriously." But how could I not? I walked to the kitchen, filled a glass with water, and stared at my reflection in the microwave door, hollow eyes, clenched jaw. I barely recognized the man staring back. The man who suddenly didn't know if his marriage was real. Her phone always face down. The late nights. The new gym classes. The weekend she'd spent at a friend's cabin, coming back sunburned and wearing perfume I didn't recognize. All those little red flags I'd ignored now aligned perfectly, spelling out something I didn't want to read. I went back to the bedroom. She stirred again, mumbling softly, and through the haze, I caught one clear sentence. "I told him I'd leave after the surgery. I just needed to heal first." The air left my lungs. The woman I thought I knew, the one I'd promised forever to, had just confessed, half asleep, to planning her escape. I didn't yell, didn't touch her. I just stood there, frozen, while the world I'd built quietly came apart. She was healing, yes, but not from what I thought. Morning came, all sunlight and lies. Claire stirred, blinking through the blur of sleep. I hadn't closed my eyes once. I sat in that same chair, watching her breathe, wondering if she was still the woman I married 10 years ago. She smiled weakly. "Hey," she whispered. "You stayed up all night." "Yeah," I said softly. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay." She reached for my hand, and I let her hold it, even though every muscle in me resisted. "You're too good to me," she whispered. "Sometimes I don't deserve you." "No, you don't," I thought. But I said nothing. I wanted her to keep talking, to see if anything in her tone, her eyes, her gestures, would give her away. By afternoon, she was stronger. Sitting up, scrolling through her phone as if the last 24 hours hadn't cracked something open. I made her soup. She smiled, thanked me, asked when her next dose of pain meds was due. I answered automatically. Every word out of her mouth sounded like a perfect imitation of the woman I once knew. Kind, ordinary, warm, and now, possibly lying through every breath. When she drifted back to sleep, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone on the nightstand. Locked. Face ID. I could almost hear her voice from that night echoing in my head. "You'd never suspect a thing." But I did now. That evening, when the house went quiet, I sat in the living room with my laptop. I didn't dig through her messages or hack into accounts. I went simpler. I typed, "Jason from accounting LinkedIn." There he was, same polite grin, same dull profile photo. Married. 2 kids. Lived nearby. The thought that he could tuck his children into bed after whispering to my wife made something inside me twist. I didn't want revenge. I wanted truth. So I waited. 3 days later, Claire was back to herself, laughing more, moving easily around the house. She hummed while making coffee, danced barefoot in the kitchen, smiled at her phone a little too often. Every vibration of that device felt like a blade turning in my ribs. That's when I decided I'd drive her to her follow-up appointment myself. The morning of, she dressed too well for a quick checkup. Makeup, perfume, every detail deliberate. I drove in silence. She filled the air with chatter about traffic, the weather, hospital coffee. When we parked, I studied her face. "Hey," I said softly. "Do you remember anything you said on the drive home after surgery?" She laughed nervously. "Oh, God, no. Why, did I say something stupid?" "You could say that," I replied. Her smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "You mentioned Jason," I said evenly. "Said I'd never suspect a thing." Her face drained of color. "You also said you'd leave after the surgery," I added. "That you just needed to heal first." For a heartbeat, she looked like she might faint. Then came a forced laugh. "Daniel, come on. You can't take anything I said under anesthesia seriously." I leaned in, voice low. "Then why did you just go pale?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Her eyes darted to the window. Anywhere but me. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. I turned the key. "We're done here," I said, pulling out of the lot. "Daniel, please." "No." I cut in steady. "You were right about one thing. I didn't suspect a thing. Not until you told me yourself." The drive home was quiet. She cried softly, staring out the window, and I felt nothing. No rage, no grief, just the hollow stillness that comes when truth burns everything down. When we got home, she reached for my arm. "Can we talk? You said you'd leave after the surgery," I said, holding the door open. "You're healed now. So go." Her mouth trembled. "It wasn't supposed to come out like that." "Neither was the truth," I said flatly. I walked inside, leaving her in the driveway, clutching her purse like it was the last piece of her alibi. That night, I packed a small bag and drove to my brother's place. He didn't ask questions, just looked at me and said, "You okay?" I thought for a long time before answering. "I think I will be," I said quietly. Because some truths don't scream. They whisper through anesthesia, slip between breaths, and wait for the moment you're ready to hear them. And when you finally do, they don't destroy you. They set you free. As I drove away from the house that used to be ours, I understood something simple but sharp. Sometimes, life doesn't hand you confessions. It slips them to you by accident.